This is the metal that we modeled in the last video, and I'm going to texture this now in Substance Painter, and I'll bring those textures back into Blender and we'll have a look at it here. Alright, so I'm going to go into the UV editor, and before we do anything, it's always good practice to just check, make sure that no faces are facing the wrong way, and also to do an M, merge by distance. There's nothing to remove. Now I've got everything selected, and I don't recommend this for all models, but in this case I'm going to press U, Smart UV Project 0.002, and that's going to be it. Now I'm going to pack this. I'm going to use UV Pack Master 3, but you can just use Blender. I'm going to pack it, and now I export this as an FBX. Here we are in Substance Painter, and I'll go File, New. I'll put this on OpenGL, and I'll select, and Wolfenstein Metal Video 2, I believe, is what it is. And we bring it in, and there she is. So let's change the name of the texture set list. This is one, and let's just call it War Metal. And that'll be the name for the textures that get exported. And we're going to bake the mesh maps, so let's do that. Bake mesh maps, change that to 2K, uncheck ID and thickness, and bake. Alright, now we're going to start texturing this. And the first material I'm going to use is a smart material, this bronze armor. Now I'm not sure if that comes standard in Substance Painter. If I downloaded it, you could try any other metal and experiment. I'm going to use this bronze armor. I'm just going to drag that in, and already it's starting to look kind of cool. That's all I'm going to do with that layer. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a fill, and I'll click color and then click roughness, drag the roughness up, drag this down to almost black, and this is going to be a dirt layer, black mask, generator, and the dirt generator. And I'm not really going to do much other than that, but change that to maybe 0.65 and just leave it so it fills in the edges with a bit of dirt. Okay, so that's good. Now, let's work on a texture for these inset pieces here in what I'm calling like the wings of the metal. I call it the wings. I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call this wings, and I'm going to add a fill, drag it in to there. And on the folder, I'm going to add a black mask, come over to polygon fill, switch to mesh, and then just click in these. So I've got the effect of that just inside there. All right, so I'm going to come to the fill layer, and all I'm really going to use is height. So I'm going to alt-click height. Now we don't see anything going on. I'm going to add a black mask to this one, and I'm going to add a fill. Come over to the properties in the grayscale. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to add fur 1. I just search for fur. I add this fur 1. Now we don't see anything, so let's come back to here where we alt-click the height, and I'm going to drag the height up until I get something like this, just in those sections of the wings, as I'm calling them. We'll come back to this, and I'm going to switch this to triplanar. I'm going to change the scale to, I'll try 3.5. Come down here, the balance, try 0.85. All right, see the effect we're getting. I'll leave the contrast where it is, but I'll come to the noise parameters, and I'm change that from 2 to 4, and that's the effect that I'm going for in there. And that's why I raised that so it would look a little bit like it protrudes a bit. Okay, so there is that layer right there. All right, I'm going to add a fill layer now, and I'm going to just use color. I'm going to do some edges, but I'm going to make them dark. So drag it down like that. Black mask, generator, and metal edges. And I'll just drop the wear down to something like 0.65. Just darkens it along the edges there. Okay, and that's all I really need to do for that. I'll just call this edges. And now I want to do something about this circle area here. So I'm going to do something very similar to this. I'm going to add a folder and a fill. Put the fill inside. Okay, so it's inside the folder. Black mask, polygon fill, This time I'm going to switch to UV chunk and click there. So it's just the front of that stuff. All right, let's open that up. Come to here. Once again, all I want is height. I can actually just drag that up right now just so we have it set. I'm going to add a black mask and a fill. And in the grayscale, I'm going to reset that. And I'm going to search for cells 4. And I've got this. Let's switch this to triplanar. And let's use a scale. Let's see. We could try 3.5 again. See, yeah, I'm starting to get what I want. And balance, let's try 0.6. I'll leave that. Noise parameters, well, I think the noise is where I want it. 32, and so I get that. And that is pretty much what I'm going for right there. And I could leave it at that, or I can come over here and let's, first of all, I'm just going to call this circle. Sometimes I'll put just a little bit of dust. You can do all kinds of, stuff on this, obviously. But I'll create a fill layer, and I'll just use color, that white color. Maybe we'll come to the smart masks and type dust and get one of these soft dusts and just maybe bring it down here just a little bit so it's, just like that. And there is the texture that I'm going for this particular metal. Okay, and if you wanted to try something else, you could always come back down here just to your base layer and change that base color to light if you prefer that kind of view. Maybe not that white, but if you wanted sort of a silvery kind of thing, but I'm just going to leave it as it is. And if you get something that you really like, you can always take this stuff and Control G, put it in a separate folder and call it war metal or something you're going to remember, and just right click and create smart material. And then you will have it down here. You can use it on other models. All right, similar to that bronze, but it's got some extra stuff on it. All right. Okay, so now that I've got that and I've named that, I'm done. So I'm going to come to Export Texture, and I'm going to export this output template. I'm going to switch to metal roughness, and I'm going to make a change here. I'm going to get rid of this mesh and underscore. I'm going to leave the $ texture set. So just right up to the underscore, I'm going to get rid of those. Just make the naming a little bit easier for me to deal with. So I'm going to get rid of those, and my normal, I want to make sure my normal is OpenGL for Blender. Change that. And now I can come over here and I can make sure I choose PBR Metallic Roughness and choose a location. I'll just call it, I'll just put it there, Textures Wolfenstein. And I'm going to leave it at 8 bits PNG. And you'll see that I get more metal base, roughness, etc. So it's easy to find that way. Of course, we should save this. Now, just one thing to note, my texture is only at 1K. So if I bring it up to 2K, you may get a change in the, what the texture looks like. You get that kind of thing. So that's fine. Maybe I'll save that. I'll re-export at that 2K. It depends what your needs are. Okay, so back over to Blender now. I'll come to the shading tab, and there's my metal, and I'm going to click new for material. I'm going to call this war metal. It's all one material, so it's easy. Click on the principled BSDF. Shift Control T is what you need to press, and come to your textures and scroll down. Here it is, war metal. Highlight all of those. Click on Principal Texture Setup. They will come on. And just be aware that it may look a little different in Blender. Okay, and then just maybe scroll through the HDRI, see if you can find one that you like. I tend to like that one quite a bit. And without the extra lighting, you know, they may look a little bit flat, but we could certainly cycle through a couple of these until you maybe find one that, you know, makes your metal look good if you just want to preview it here. All right, but I'm just going to jump back to that one, and we have our metal in Blender. All right, so that's it for this. I'm going to add this to my scene, and I'm going to move on with texturing the document cabinet, the lamp, and see if there's anything else that I want to model. All right, so thanks very much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.